Welcome to iBelieve TV, the show that takes the mystery out of the effects and techniques the media and government use to keep you in the dark. My name is Justin Ballot, and today I'm going to be telling you about what's going on in America right now as we speak. I've warned time and time again about the dangers of regulation and the dangers of allowing the government to come in and regulate and tax. The legalization movement and how they push for this regulation and taxation of marijuana, and whenever that happens, the government will always tax and regulate it out of your hands. Now, we've seen in America for a number of years how the government introduced these special tax laws that only applied to marijuana dispensaries, and they've been closing them down left, right and center because none of them realized about these special tax laws where you have to pay on your selling price, not on the net profit like every other company. Then the government's come along and they started to introduce all these other regulations and permits. One of the things that they've done in America is that if the DEA decides that you are involved in the marijuana industry, okay, now it doesn't matter what you're doing in the marijuana industry, it's just you have to be involved in it. The DEA tells the bank and the bank automatically closes down your account. So we're talking obviously about the dispensaries, about the caregivers. We're also talking about consultants to the marijuana industry. But you'll notice that the big, huge organizations, the big corporatized, massive, branded organization, you know the name, you all know the name, they're not being touched. Their bank account's not being touched. Isn't that funny? What a coincidence, how it always works that way. So the banks are busy closing down all the accounts, not allowing anybody to open an account if your business involves medical marijuana or marijuana of any kind, whether even if you're a consultant to the industry. Yet the big, huge branded organizations, they're not being touched. Another thing that's happening is in Rhode Island and New Jersey, they've just passed these new laws where only a few dispensaries, state-owned, government-owned dispensaries are going to be permitted. And we're talking about 3 in Rhode Island and 6 in New Jersey. Now, there were hundreds of people in New Jersey that were running dispensaries, and all of them had to apply to get the permits. In order to apply, it cost 150,000 Rand. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you don't have 150,000 Rand just lying around so that you can apply to the city council wherever you live so that you can have a dispensary. The government said that if you didn't win the permit, if you weren't awarded the permit, then they will give you back all your money, but they're going to keep 15,000 Rand for themselves. So that's 15,000 Rand just down the toilet. Just for applying. How dumb can you be? Because the government wants to regulate marijuana, that's 15,000 Rand. You've lost it. Now, 100 dispensaries paying 150,000 Rand each. That's 15 million Rand. The interest on 15 million Rand, you're looking at between 750 to $1 million in a year. And it's taken that long for them to process the applications. What a nice job. I'd love to have a job like that. Everybody give me 150,000 Rand. I'll put it into my bank account, just leave it there and get all of that money. And now the situation is that only six dispensaries have been licensed. These are government-owned dispensaries. And these dispensaries are non-profit. They are completely controlled by the state. All of the money goes to the state. Any profit that they make, the people that own those dispensaries are basically managers for those dispensaries. Oh, and the patients, you now have to prove where you got your money from. You can't just walk in with your medical marijuana card and your doctor's recommendation and say, I would like to buy 1,000 Rands worth of marijuana, please. It doesn't work that way anymore. You now have to prove to them where you got the money from. Every time you allow a government to legally regulate, and that's why these organizations call for this, it's obvious. Only a stupid person is going to say, let the government legally regulate something that they've lied about. It's not that they made a mistake. The government never made a mistake about this. The government has deliberately lied. Read my lips. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and he's funding Al-Qaeda. We will not name airports after political leaders. Welcome to OR Tambo. Every word that comes out of the government's mouth is a lie. So anyone who trusts the government, obviously you know what's coming. You know that if you play with the snake, it will bite you. It always bites you because that's the nature of the snake. The government are the worst snakes of all. So they're always going to hiss and lie to you and say, no, 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 we're here for you. Let's legally regulate it and tax it. We'll be fair. And what's happened now in America is they're being shut down left, right and center. Obama's set up a special unit to raid dispensaries. It doesn't matter that the people voted for it. It doesn't matter that they comply with state law. It doesn't matter. They are being shut down because that's what the government always does. And so for those of you who don't know what's going on, you better start realizing very quickly that these organizations that are out there, that are calling for the legalization, the big branded organizations, you know the names, you all know the names. They're out there always calling for the legalization, and the government must get involved and regulate the industry, and we must have a safe, responsible marijuana use. They're not there to do safe, responsible marijuana use. They're there to ensure that the interests of the organizations that they represent are protected, and you are not one of the organizations that they represent. They are there to con you so that you keep quiet. This is a people management organization. If you have a look at the analogy of people being called sheeple, many people are sheeple because that's what you're born into. You're born into a system where you are the sheep and you eat all the grass and you keep your head down. You're born into this pen, and the good shepherds that are around you, which are of course the media, the government and the schools, they are there to look after you, aren't they? One day you wake up and you realize that these organizations that are there, that are supposed to be looking after you, the schools, the government and the media, they're not. They're lying. And how do you know that they lie? Because they use a special terminology. They always say might, possibly, maybe. Or there might possibly maybe be a link to crime. Or there might possibly maybe be a link to schizophrenia. Or there might possibly maybe. And that's their way of legally protecting themselves, because might possibly maybe means might possibly maybe not. There's no definites there. It's a might, it's a possibly, it's a maybe. And so eventually one day you realize, oh dear, the government are not the good shepherds, they're the bad shepherds. Their job is to fleece you with tax, to take your will. They tax you, and then once they've fleeced you enough and you've given them enough will, then they kill you and they take your pound of flesh and sell it. That's the job of these wonderful organizations. And so immediately you start looking around and you say, oh well, there must be other organizations that are here to help me. But these organizations that are there, they've been set up deliberately by the government. That's what they are part of. They are part of this people management system. The trade unions fall into the same category, and also these big, huge branded organizations that say, come to us, we'll protect you. They are the wolves in sheep's clothing. They are not there to help you. They are there to eat you. They work for the good shepherds, so that when you try and escape from the pen, they kill you. They've been taught not to eat you too much. They can have a bite. They can take a bite out of you. That's why you have to pay them membership fees to belong. But once they've taken their bite out of you, you go back to being with the shepherd. In order to escape from the system that they've set up, you cannot be following. Because following, another way of saying following is if you just extend the O. Fool-owing. That's what you're actually doing. You're a fool. You're a fool to follow these branded organizations, because you don't even know who they are. You don't know who their leaders are. You don't know where they get their agendas from. You don't know who's funding them. You don't know anything about them. Yet here they are all saying, let's go medical marijuana route. Let the government legally regulate it. And you can see what's happening now in America. They are being totally and utterly destroyed. So I hope that you realize that those people that are calling for you to follow in the footsteps and to have a situation where you must pay taxes and the government must legally regulate the industry, I hope you're realizing what's going to happen, because we can never accept that. Marijuana can only be re-legalized, and the government has to make restitution, and they have to admit that what they've done is wrong. And if they're not going to admit, then it's treason, and that's the line. That's the only line that we can take. Either the government's full re-legalization and the restitution to make up for the damages that they've done, or we're not negotiating at all.